A group of elementary school children gather excitedly around a nostalgic prize draw stall on a playground. Jinho, number 35, it's number 35. Okay, I feel it, I feel it. Jinho holds up his prize slip with confidence as his friends cheer him on. The stall owner grumbles about how many giant carps Gino is going to win, wishing he didn't come to this neighborhood, while Gino runs off happily sharing his massive candy prize. Jinho's sitting atop the playground slide while his friends happily eat the treats, praising him as the best because he always shares everything. I've always been lucky, for as long as I can remember. And I never really thought about this luck, Jinho reflects, eating his candy on top of the slide. Or tried to define it, I just lived. Now grown up, Jinho sits alone in his room in front of a computer screen. Hey newbie, hurry it up! Jinho looks tense wearing his headset during a game. His guildmates complain that it's probably just trash anyway and that there's no way an S-grade weapon will drop, but Jinho asks them to wait just a second. A treasure chest appears on the screen with the prompt tap to open as his guildmate mockingly promises him 1,000,000 gold if he actually pulls it. Seriously? No backing out later, Jinho responds, reflecting that his peculiar luck is hard to call just pure chance. It's hard to explain in words, but I get this feeling. My whole body tingles, and in that thrilling moment, Jinho's hand glows with a mysterious energy as he holds the mouse. When I click, the chest bursts open with a brilliant golden light. I got it! Jinho cheers as his guildmates yell in disbelief at his incredible pull of a legendary sword. His guildmates are flabbergasted by how he pulled it despite the insanely low drop rate, but Jinho proudly boasts that when he says he'll do something, he does it. Whew! Gino leans back in his chair, taking a deep breath after a successful gaming session. But what's the point? It's a useless ability in the real world anyway. Just a worthless skill that only works in games. Has it already been 2 years? Just gaming in my room like this? Jinho looks at his phone and sees message after message of job rejection notices, feeling completely discouraged as he fails round after round. Failing 100 job applications crushed my confidence, Jinho sighs, slumping his head onto his desk. And slowly, I sank deeper and deeper into games. My pathetic real life. He stares ahead with tired, hollow eyes, struggling to cope with his reality. Jinho finds a note on the refrigerator from his parents along with some money. Son, your dad and I are heading out. Make sure to order some dinner. This is the worst, Jinho mutters to himself as he stands alone in the dark kitchen, staring at the note. In the game, his guild members are shocked by a sudden announcement, asking why he's quitting when he was doing so well. It's not that. Actually, Jinho hesitates, looking downcast. Job hunting, I see, a guildmate replies as they gather in the virtual tavern. His guildmates sympathize with how stressful it must have been to game under that kind of pressure, wondering what will happen to their guild without him. Suddenly, Jinho receives a private whisper from the guild leader asking which university he graduated from, and he replies, Jinsun University. When she asks about his major, he says business administration, to which she jokingly responds that he must at least know how to count numbers. Good, then don't waste your time job hunting, the guild leader whispers with a knowing smile. And come work at my company, says the handsome man behind the avatar, smiling through his headset. Jinho gasps in utter shock. I don't expect much, Jinho thinks as a magical staff glows on screen. Just do exactly what you did here. Jinho falls backward in panic, yelling, wait, huh? Hold on. Bro! The manager looks over Jinho's resume, noting that he's 27 years old with only basic certifications and absolutely no relevant work experience. Put him in the trading department. That order came straight from the CEO's office. Team leader Park Hong-seo is completely stunned to hear that the hiring order came directly from the CEO himself. The chibi guild leader character floats in the sky over a parachute, representing the reality of Jinho's sudden employment. Jinho descends from the sky, landing directly on Gwanggun Security's rooftop with a parachute. Jinho crouches on the rooftop holding the deflated parachute, realizing he has officially become a parachute hire. Team leader Park Hong-seo walks down the office hallway, noting that the stock market officially opens at 9 a.m. But because of the call auction, the real start is at 8:30 a.m. And although the market closes at 3:30 p.m., there is another call auction, making the final closing time 3:40 p.m., a total of 7 hours and 10 minutes. For just over 7 hours, a stock chart plummeted dramatically, where capital flies like bullets becomes a silent battlefield. But to bring, team leader Park Hong-seo looks on with a sharp, serious expression. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Jung Jin-jo. Jinho stands stiffly in his suit and swallows nervously, trying to maintain his composure in his new environment. When team leader Park asks Jinho if this is his first time in finance and if he has any simulated trading or investment experience, Jinho nervously admits he doesn't but promises to work as hard as he can if taught. Team leader Park looks frustrated, thinking about how unbelievable it is that they sent him a complete rookie to teach from scratch, wondering if this is just a chore dump or if they are simply supposed to keep him around. Team leader Park calls out to associate Lee Hai-rin, who promptly turns around and responds, "Yes, team leader." Team leader Park introduces Jung Jin-ho as their new junior trader and instructs associate Lee to show him the ropes. Lee Hai-rin smiles brightly and responds enthusiastically, "Yes, sir." Hai-rin leads Jin-ho into the busy office, telling him it's where he'll be working, while Jin-ho thinks in disbelief about how he actually managed to get a job at a place like this. Jin-ho is completely shocked to realize that the friendly middle-aged man he used to play video games with is actually the CEO of Gwanggun Securities, one of the top 10 brokerage firms in Korea. A finger presses the button on the office coffee machine to brew a cup. Hai-rin explains that traders basically live on coffee, so they need to prepare it right before the morning meeting starts. Hai-rin notes that they should skip team leader Park because he doesn't drink coffee, describing him as a highly self-disciplined, flawless individual, which Jin-ho notes carefully. Hai-rin warns Jin-ho that the workload for traders is incredibly intense because they trade by the second, meaning he must quickly provide the seniors with whatever data they need. Hai-rin compares the market to a massive casino where hundreds of billions of won change hands daily, stating that most people can't survive there with their sanity intact. Staring intently at Jin-ho, Hai-rin asks if he thinks he can handle it, warning him that being a trader is not a job fit for ordinary humans. Hai-rin suddenly bursts into laughter and playfully slaps Jin-ho on the back, telling him she was just kidding and that every workplace is pretty much the same. Hai-rin's expression softens as she suggests they make just one promise since they will be working together from now on. Hai-rin pointed Jin-ho cheerfully, declaring that no matter how hard things get, they must promise not to run away without telling each other first. Jin-ho's taken aback by her unique personality but feels a sense of reassurance, thinking that if someone as energetic as her is his senior, he might actually be able to do this. During the morning meeting, the team discusses the high market volatility caused by the US NFP coming in way above expectations and the recent CPI release. The traders analyze the market data, noting that the dollar index is strong above 105, foreign buying is concentrated in electronics, and Gangsong Electronics might face short-term valuation pressure as its PER has exceeded 12. Team leader Park warns his team that if foreign buying continues to flow in, opposing positions will suffer severe losses, emphasizing the urgent need to manage their risk. Team leader Park instructs the team to take a short position and prepare a hedge using ETFs or futures, and the senior traders readily agree. Jin-ho, frantically writing in his notepad, sweat drops as he realizes he doesn't understand a single word of the financial jargon being thrown around. Looking up at the towering Gwanggun Securities building against the bright sky, Jin-ho anxiously wonders if everything is really going to be okay. Jin-ho sneaks into the stairwell to answer a phone call, hesitatingly addressing the caller as Hyung and then CEO, to which the CEO laughs and tells him to just call him Hyung when they are alone. The CEO asks if Jin-ho made it to work okay, and Jin-ho sheepishly confesses his worry that he will just end up being a burden to the company. The CEO jokingly dismisses his worries, pointing out that if a single person being a burden could ruin the company, he would have quit long ago, praising Jin-ho's polite and hardworking nature. The CEO adds that Jin-ho managed all the guild members wonderfully for him in the past, and since the game wouldn't be any fun without him, he wanted to pay him back. Standing in his luxurious office overlooking the city, the CEO tells Jin-ho to make sure he treats his superiors well, just like he did in the guild, while Jin-ho desperately calls out to him to wait. Before hanging up, the CEO quickly advises Jin-ho that if anyone asks how he got hired, he should just say he doesn't know. Jin-ho stares blankly at his phone screen in disbelief as the call abruptly disconnects. Jin-ho lets out a heavy, exhausted sigh as he slumps his head, holding his phone in the quiet stairwell. Suddenly, Hai-rin calls out Jin-ho's name near the exit door, and he quickly snaps out of it, answering that he is on his way. Jin-ho stares at the complex financial charts on the computer monitor, repeating the words simulated trading to himself. Hai-rin proudly shares that she won a simulated trading competition hosted by Gwanggun Securities back in college, which was a great addition to her resume, and asks Jin-ho if he has done much simulated trading. When Jin-ho sheepishly replies no, Hai-rin gives him a thumbs up and enthusiastically assumes that he must be someone who prefers real-world hands-on experience. Hai-rin poses the question of why they do simulated trading, calling it an excellent question, while Jin-ho sweat drops and silently thinks to himself that he didn't even ask. Hai-rin explains that since a company cannot simply hand over real money to unproven junior traders, they use simulated trading with virtual funds to build experience and evaluate their performance. Jin-ho asks with a curious look if doing well in simulated trading means one can successfully become a senior trader. Hai-rin enthusiastically confirms that performance is everything at a brokerage firm, regardless of experience or education, declaring that in the end, whoever makes the most money is king. Jinho reflects on her words, finding the rule that whoever makes the most money is king to be much simpler and more straightforward than he initially thought. The digital wall clock flashes exactly 0000 a.m., signaling the official start of the trading market in Seoul. Instantly, the quiet office erupts into chaotic action as phones begin to ring loudly and traders scramble around their desks. With the market open, the office that was dead silent just a moment ago is suddenly filled with intense energy. The traders type furiously on their keyboards and shout into their phones as the charts fluctuate wildly, completely transforming the atmosphere of the room into a chaotic battlefield. Watching the intense scene unfold, Jinho is left in complete awe, realizing the true nature of a brokerage firm. Suddenly, Jinho's eyes widen as he feels a bizarre and unexpected sensation wash over him. Jinho looks down at his hand gripping the mouse, wondering why he is suddenly feeling a strange, glowing energy tingling at his fingertips. As his hand glows with a brilliant mystical blue light over the mouse, Jinho gasps in shock as he recognizes the exact thrilling sensation he always gets in video games right before he clicks to open a legendary treasure chest. Jinho reflects on the tingling sensation in his fingertips, realizing it is the exact same feeling he gets in video games right before pulling a rare item, while a legendary glowing weapon flashes on the screen. Pointing at his computer screen, Lee Hae-rin explains that the blue light means the stock is hitting limit down, asking Jinho if he is listening to her as he keeps his hand on the mouse. Hae-rin looks at Jinho with a startled expression and asks him what he's reading. At that very moment, Jinho's eyes glow a brilliant blue as a strange tingle washes over his entire body and a shiver runs down his spine, bringing a grin to his face. Jinho thinks to himself that if he clicks, his finger prepares to press down on the glowing blue mouse wheel. Hae-rin looks at Jinho in utter shock and asks again, "Huh? Jinho, what are you doing?" Hae-rin gasps in sudden shock, letting out a loud "ah" as her eyes widen. Hae-rin frantically asks Jinho why he suddenly hit the buy order button, noting that since he placed a market price order, it executed immediately. Hae-rin points to the stock chart showing falling blue candles, asking Jinho what color it looks like, and Jinho nervously replies that it looks like a blue light. Hae-rin explains that a blue light means the stock is hitting limit down and the price is dropping, prompting a sweating Jinho to anxiously ask if he should sell it back. Hae-rin advises him not to sell, suggesting it might turn red soon and they can recover their losses somehow, while looking intensely focused on the screen. Jinho smiles awkwardly and scratches his head, apologizing for his mistake. Reassuring him with a warm smile, Hae-rin tells Jinho not to worry too much since it's only simulated trading and he isn't losing real money. Staring at the plunging blue candles on the stock chart, Jinho thinks to himself that he pressed the button without thinking because he felt the exact same sensation as in games, but the price just keeps dropping. Looking downcast, Jinho worries that his special ability might have nothing to do with stocks after all, thinking what a shame it is since he had high hopes. Hae-rin quietly watches Jinho as he sits slumped in disappointment. An intimidating figure holding a knife represents the brutal nature of stock trades that occur within seconds to minutes. The narration explains that an ultra-short-term trading strategy that shaves off tiny profits is called day trading, as a calm trader types at his desk. Overlooking the busy office, the narration notes that this is where people addicted to day trading gather. As a trader watches the fluctuating red and blue candles, the narration explains that every single second, a split-second decision determines everything. After the market closes, a trader's hands rest on the keyboard and mouse. A trader celebrates passionately in his office, as the narration notes that depending on the outcome, either dopamine or rage sweeps over you. The office erupts in cheers as Associate Manager Lee celebrates achieving an average yield of 1.3, while Jinho and Hae-rin look on. Jinho asks if a yield in the 1 range is really that amazing, and Hae-rin enthusiastically explains that an average yield of 1.3 is incredible. Hae-rin explains with a big smile that if a senior trader managing 20 billion won in assets maintains a 1.3 yield, they are an A-class trader bringing in 3 billion won a year. Hae-rin reiterates that at a securities firm, whoever makes the most money is king. A hand leans on the cubicle divider as someone approaches Associate Manager Lee's desk. Associate Manager Lee turns around in surprise as someone addresses him. Team Leader Park stands leaning on the partition, praising Associate Manager Lee's excellent work and telling him to keep it up. Associate Manager Lee bows deeply to thank the team leader, while the narration notes that the real work begins now. Team Leader Park instructs the staff to calculate today's trading results and profits, emphasizing the need to plan tomorrow's strategy before the day ends. From inside his office, Team Leader Park looks up to see Lee Hae-rin standing hesitantly near the door. Team Leader Park asks Associate Lee if she has something to say. Hae-rin smiles nervously and sweat drops, preparing to address her team leader. Holding his protein drink, Team Leader Park asks her what it is. Team Leader Park repeats in surprise that the new recruit who started today made an all-in buy on a stock by mistake and at market price. Hyrin looks down worriedly, explaining that she thinks Jinho accidentally placed a buy order while she was training him, and that she was worried he might get a bad evaluation on his first day since the stock hit limit down. Team leader Park looks at her with a serious expression, wondering if she is already covering for Jinho even though it has only been a single day. Team leader Park tells Hyrin he understands and won't be too harsh on Jinho's first day, telling her not to worry and to go prepare for the briefing. Team leader Park instructs Hyrin to make sure she trains the rookie properly, and she gratefully agrees, bowing before leaving. Left alone, Team Leader Park clicks his mouse to look up the details of Jinho's mock trade. Looking at his monitor, Team Leader Park is puzzled to see Jungang Insurance, wondering why the rookie bought an insurance stock at a time like this. Team Leader Park notes that it's common for rookies to make mistakes with sell orders, which is exactly why they have mock trading. Team Leader Park looks closely, wondering if an all-in buy at market price was actually intentional. He quickly dismisses the thought, deciding it's just mock trading with fake money anyway and there's no need to waste energy on it. Team Leader Park sits back in his office chair, concluding that Jinho is just a passing parachute hire who made a mistake. As an office chair wheel rolls across the floor, the narration states that once the market closed, the real storm began. Hyrin and Jinho run through the office as a massive wave of errands floods in all at once. High-angle view of Jinho and Hyrin running to deliver documents, with the narration describing requests for data analysis materials and document preparation for strategy meetings. Jinho looks exhausted and out of breath, as the narration states that by the time the storm finally passed, he finally came to his senses. After a grueling first day, Jinho reflects on how he has already spent 14 long hours at the office. Turning to him with a bright smile, Hyrin suggests that they should finally head out for the day. As they walk out of the bustling company building together, Hyrin warmly compliments Jinho, telling him he did a great job on his very first day. Hyrin playfully adds that there was just one minor mistake, causing Jinho to instantly stiffen in surprise. Nervous and sweating, Jinho scratches his cheek and anxiously asks her if it really was just a minor mistake. Hyrin laughs and reassures him, asking if they would really dock points on his performance review for a single mock trading mistake on his first day. However, her smile quickly fades as she sweat drops and whispers that the notoriously strict Team Leader Park actually might. Looking at Jinho with encouraging, sparkling eyes, Hyrin reminds him of his promise not to run away, no matter how tough things get. Hyrin waves a cheerful goodbye, wishing him a safe trip home, while Jinho bows deeply and respectfully in gratitude. Feeling incredibly blessed, Jinho smiles dreamily to himself, unable to believe that such a kind and angelic person is his mentor. Letting out a massive yawn, Jinho slumps his shoulders as he walks, thinking about how exhausted he is and how he needs to pass out the very second he gets home. Suddenly, Jinho stops in his tracks as his phone begins to vibrate loudly in his pocket, catching him completely off guard. On the other end of the line, a bearded man laughs heartily, calling Jinho CEO, before Jinho tells him to just call him Hyung since they are alone. The bearded man jokingly asks if the job is harder than expected and warns him not to whine to his mentor, to which Jinho quickly replies that he wouldn't dare complain and is determined to work hard. Jinho explains that seeing how hard everyone works at the firm has made him truly respect them, which prompts a surprised respect from the man on the other end. As Jinho recalls the chaotic scene of traders shouting and working under immense pressure, he admits that the workload was far beyond his imagination, filled with complex terms he doesn't understand and a bone-chilling level of tension during market hours. Walking down the quiet street, Jinho admits that seeing their dedication naturally made him realize that while he was standing still, everyone else was living their lives fiercely. With a vulnerable expression, Jinho confesses that even now, he still wonders if he truly belongs alongside such passionate and driven professionals. Setting his phone down, the bearded man warmly tells Jinho to put those worries aside, encouraging him that he will do great because if there is one thing he is confident in, it is his eye for people. The man immediately transitions to asking when Jinho is logging onto their game, proudly stating he's already waiting, leaving Jinho completely dumbfounded since he literally just left the office. When the man playfully accuses Jinho of abandoning him now that he has a job, Jinho panics in a funny stance on the street and promises he'll log on right away. Hanging up the phone with a sigh, Jinho realizes that leaving the office certainly wasn't the end of his long day. Clutching his bag tightly, Jinho sprints down the sidewalk, lamenting the incredibly busy, fast-paced life of a modern corporate worker. The next morning, the bright fluorescent lights of the Gwangun securities office flicker to life as a new day begins. The atmosphere inside the office is quiet but focused as the employees settle into their desks, preparing for the upcoming market open. Within moments, the silence is broken by the clicking of mice and traders quickly answering their phones to coordinate with clients. Looking up at the clock, the manager announces that there is a team meeting in 15 minutes and instructs everyone to get ready, receiving prompt acknowledgments from the staff. Sitting at his desk, the manager asks for any market updates, to which a senior analyst reports that several stock items have experienced significant volatility today. The analyst mentions that he has already emailed over the relevant data, and the manager nods in appreciation, saying he will review it immediately. As the manager analyzes the report, he notes that most insurance stocks are performing terribly due to the recent interest rate hikes, but suddenly spots something unusual that catches his attention. Pausing with his hand on his mouse, the manager murmurs in disbelief as he takes a closer look at the flashing data on his screen. His eyes widen in complete shock behind his glasses as he stares intently at a sudden dramatic spike on the stock chart. Clicking on Zhongang Insurance, he sees that the stock has unexpectedly surged, reversing its downward trend with a strong red candle pointing straight up. The screen flashes with a massive 15% gain, leaving both the manager and Hei-rin completely speechless as they realize this is the exact same stock the new recruit bought all in yesterday. Hei-rin leans over Jin-ho's desk in absolute shock, frantically asking him how on earth this could have happened. Suddenly, Hei-rin gasps and quickly spins around as a towering figure silently approaches Jin-ho's cubicle. Team leader Park stands behind them with a serious, imposing expression, calmly telling Jin-ho that they need to have a quick chat. Looking directly at Jin-ho with a stern gaze, team leader Park commands him to step into his private office. Later on, an electronic display inside a train announces that it is bound for Yeouido, reminding passengers that it is public transportation day. Jin-ho stands packed tightly among a sea of quiet, exhausted commuters during the morning rush hour. To combat his exhaustion, Jin-ho quickly gulps down a bottle of fatigue recovery drink to get himself through the day. Feeling completely drained, Jin-ho thinks to himself that he still hasn't recovered from staying up late gaming with his friends after work. He recalls the joyful flashback of when he shared the news with his parents, who were in complete disbelief that their son actually managed to land a job at Gwangwon Securities. When his mother bluntly pointed out that it's not a company someone with Jin-ho's academic background could normally get into, Jin-ho playfully whined, asking how she could say that to her own son. His father chimed in to defend him, stating that while Jin-ho might not have been cut out for studying, he has always been a hard worker, which left Jin-ho wondering if that was actually a compliment. Placing a warm, reassuring hand on Jin-ho's shoulder, his father heartfeltly congratulated him and urged him to work hard even when things get difficult. Standing in the crowded subway, Jin-ho looks down as he remembers their smiles, wondering how long it has been since he last saw his parents look that happy. Stepping off the train and heading toward Gwangwon Securities, Jin-ho resolves that it doesn't matter if he was a parachute hire. For now, he simply has to give it his absolute all. As he enters the office, Hei-rin greets him with a bright, refreshing smile, wishing him a good morning. Turning to face him, Hei-rin notes with a pleased, warm expression that he kept his promise and didn't run away. With determination shining in her eyes, Hei-rin asks Jin-ho if they should do their absolute best today as well, and Jin-ho smiles back, ready to face whatever comes next. Hei-rin bends over Jin-ho's desk in shock, her eyes wide as she looks at the monitor. Above her, a speech bubble reads, "Huh?" while Jin-ho, sweating nervously, stares at the screen and wonders, "What is this?" The screen displays the stock data for Zhongang Insurance, indicating a massive surge. Narration boxes read, "The stock item Jin-ho placed a buy order on for yesterday's mock investment, and it went up by 15%? Looking at the incredible stock chart, Jin-ho is filled with disbelief. Above them, the narration states, "Could this be?" as Hei-rin continues to stare in complete shock. A close-up of Jin-ho's eye as a sweat drop runs down his temple, his expression full of shock and wonder as he thinks to himself, "Did my ability actually work?" Jin-ho gulps in surprise, a large speech bubble above him expressing his astonishment. "Wow, if this had been with real money, how much would I have made?" as the names of massive numbers fade in behind him. Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. Suddenly, a voice calls out, "Jong Jin-ho!" Both Jin-ho and Hei-rin instantly whip their heads around in surprise, looking over their shoulders toward the visitor. Team leader Park stands before Jin-ho's cubicle with a firm, imposing posture. He looks down at Jin-ho and calmly states, "Let's have a quick chat." Jin-ho is startled, sweating as he looks up at the towering figure of team leader Park, who commands, "In my office." Jin-ho enters the team leader's private office, only to find weights, dumbbells, and push-up bars scattered across the floor. Looking at the workout equipment, Jin-ho is bewildered, thinking to himself, is this an office or a gym? And does he work out in his office because he's short on time? Leaning against his desk with his arms crossed, team leader Park looks at Jin-ho and asks, "Staff Jong Jin-ho, how is it? Finding it manageable?" To which Jin-ho quickly and nervously responds, "Oh yes." With a bright, polite smile, Jin-ho gives 2 thumbs up and says, "Everyone's been very nice, so I'm doing well." Team leader Park simply replies, "That's good." With his arms crossed, team leader Park's expression turns serious as he tells Jin-ho, "Just so you know, I'm the only one on our team who knows." This catches Jin-ho completely off guard, prompting him to ask, "Pardon?" Looking down with a stern gaze, Team Leader Park clarifies, about you being the CEO's parachute hire, Staff Jong Jin-ho. Jin-ho's eyes widen and sweat drops from his face in panic as he lets out an anxious, ah. Team Leader Park sighs and closes his eyes, saying, well, even if I don't say anything, rumors will spread and everyone will find out soon enough, but that can't be helped. He then looks directly at Jin-ho and says, let me ask you directly. Staring deeply at Jin-ho, Team Leader Park asks, what is your relationship with the CEO? Are you family? Jin-ho sweats profusely as a vivid memory of the female wizard from his online game flashes behind him, her finger to her lips as she warned, never tell him we met in a game. Got it? Overwhelmed, Jin-ho stammers, well... Jin-ho bows slightly and respectfully apologizes to Team Leader Park, explaining, I'm not at liberty to say. I'm sorry, Team Leader. Team Leader Park turns his head away slightly, closing his eyes as he calmly accepts the answer. Fine, if you have your reasons, I won't pry any further. Turning back to Jin-ho with his hand in his pocket, Team Leader Park shifts the topic. Instead, let me ask you something else. Jungang Insurance, what's the story behind that? As Jin-ho scratches his neck nervously, Team Leader Park recalls seeing Jin-ho sitting in the morning briefing, thinking, Jung Jin-ho, you were definitely in the meeting room during the briefing. At that time, you were exposed to information about interest rate fluctuations and the game-bod ratio held by each insurance company. Looking at Jin-ho, Team Leader Park's internal thoughts continue. It wasn't an amount of information a rookie who just started yesterday could easily process. But the timing of your buy order was too perfect to be a mere coincidence. Adjusting his glasses, Team Leader Park analyzes the situation further. Either it was a calculated decision made by analyzing scattered information, or it was just a simple. Hoping to deflect suspicion, Jin-ho puts on a friendly, sheepish smile, scratching the back of his neck as he laughs. I think it was just a coincidence. I tend to be pretty lucky. Team Leader Park looks at him, his glasses reflecting the white light of his monitor, and responds with the dry, skeptical, is that so? Accepting the answer for now, Team Leader Park dismisses him, saying, I see, keep up the good work today and you may head out now. Jin-ho bows deeply and steps out of the office, breathing a sigh of relief. Left alone, Team Leader Park reaches into a drawer to pull out a heavy hand gripper, his thoughts lingering on Jin-ho's excuse, he got lucky? As the silhouette of CEO Hwang Dae-eun is shown against the Gwanggun Securities building, the narration states, Hwang Dae-eun, the CEO of Gwanggun Securities, a man who hires strictly based on meritocracy. He didn't build this company by being a great investor himself, but by investing in the right people. A close-up of a finger pressing a button on the office telephone. The narration continues, there's no way a man like him would bring in a parachute hire for no reason. There's definitely something more to him. With massive veins popping on his heavily muscled forearm as he squeezes the gripper, Team Leader Park resolves, whatever it is, I'll find out from now on. He then speaks into his desk phone, tell Associate Lee Hyrin to come in. Shortly after, Lee Hyrin stands respectfully in front of Team Leader Park's desk inside his office. Team Leader Park and Hyrin face each other in a quiet, serious conversation, with Hyrin listening intently to his instructions. Back at his desk, Jin-ho is completely bewildered and asks in surprise, what? Hyrin smiles brightly and sparkles with excitement as she confirms, Team Leader Park Hong-seo ordered us to focus solely on mock trading from now on? Yes, I'm telling you. Hyrin walks over to Jin-ho's desk, clapping her hands in delight. I think it's because of that insurance stock you bought, Jin-ho. I think the team leader is giving us a chance. Jin-ho looks up from his chair, asking, so is that a good thing? To which Hyrin enthusiastically responds, of course it is. Hyrin's eyes sparkle with passion as she explains, focusing on mock trading means we won't waste time and can gain more market experience, which means we'll have more opportunities to move past being juniors. Grateful and excited, Hyrin playfully slaps Jin-ho on the back, exclaiming, Jin-ho, I got this opportunity thanks to you, thank you. Jin-ho, slightly staggered by her slap, chuckles nervously and replies, no, I just got lucky. Hyrin starts walking ahead cheerfully, saying, let's go to the meeting and listen closely this time. Jin-ho smiles and follows her, replying, okay. Jin-ho massages his shoulder where Hyrin slapped him, thinking to himself with a nervous but relieved expression, so I can just focus on mock trading all day today. Inside the dark meeting room, the lens of a slide projector flickers and hums to life, casting a bright beam of light onto the presentation screen. Standing at the podium in front of the large screen displaying financial charts, Team Leader Park begins the briefing. You've all read the report, right? Let's get started right away. Team Leader Park points to the data and continues his presentation. The biggest issue right now is the EV sector, specifically across the entire value chain. Jin-ho sits quietly in his seat among the team members, clutching his notebook as the narration explains the meta-analysis held in the meeting room before the market opens. Staring at his blank notepad, Jin-ho thinks, It's a briefing focused on the sector's most listening to trend today. Calling it meta, honestly, I never expected to hear gaming terms at a securities firm. He sweats slightly, thinking, the terminology is so difficult. Jinho writes down terms on his notepad: electric vehicles, EV safety standards, nickel, leverage. He ponders, I've been here less than a week, so I don't know if I should be thinking this, but maybe everything here isn't that different from the games I used to play. With an imaginative vision of his game characters, a warrior, wizard, and barbarian behind him, the narration states Jinho's realization. Before entering a raid, you strategize based on existing information, assign roles, and calculate resources. Team Leader Park explains the market data. Following the electric bus fire, global OEMs will inevitably have to review their safety standards, particularly with nickel prices among battery materials rising by 45 compared to 6 months ago. Hearing this flood of complex information, Jinho's sweat drops and panics, thinking, the only problem is that I'm listening to this as a complete newbie. Team Leader Park leans forward on the podium, his expression serious as he warns his team, you all know we didn't meet our monthly performance targets, but don't get too greedy, we could end up losing even more. With a sharp warning glare behind his glasses, Team Leader Park commands, let's play it safe today as much as possible. Concluding the meeting, Team Leader Park declares dismissed. Hairin and Jinho exchange polite, determined nods as they prepare to head out. Hairin, can you and Staff John gather some data on catalyst material stocks and hand it over to me? Oh. Associate Manager Lee, ask the juniors from the other team to do that. I have a separate task for these two. Oh, I see. Understood. Team Leader Park's intention in front of the proprietary trading team was clear. Leave these two alone for the time being. Good. This is actually better. This is a great opportunity. Staring intensely at the stock numbers and candlestick charts, Jinho's eyes reflect the rapidly updating financial screen. To see how my ability works in the trading market. To see if it really works. Jinho rests his hand on the mouse, pausing for a brief moment as he prepares to execute his plan. Jinho's eye widens as a sudden surge of energy begins to flare around him. A powerful, glowing blue aura erupts around Jinho as he flashes a confident, determined grin. With a resolute click, Jinho presses down hard on the mouse button to place his trade. The buy order has been executed. Jinho sits alone at his desk, silently watching the stock chart unfold on his glowing monitor. Look at this. As soon as I give him a chance. Daihan Solution, all-in buy 100. He went with an all-in buy again? A sudden, sharp alert chime rings out across the quiet office floor. Hairin stretches her arms forward with a satisfied, triumphant grin, thinking to herself, nice, this is perfect. Haewin's expression softens as she wonders, anyway, I wonder if Jinho is doing okay. I hope I didn't neglect him because I was too focused on my own situation. Hairin peers over the back of Jinho's chair, completely baffled to see him sitting completely motionless. Wait, he's not doing anything? Sweating in shock, Hairin thinks to herself, don't tell me he hated it so much that he completely lost his mind? A close-up of Jinho's hand resting loosely on his computer mouse, remaining absolutely still during the trading session. Jinho sits in front of his keyboard with a sweat drop, thinking, since I went with an all-in buy right at the start and spent all my money, I have absolutely nothing to do. Jinho sweats nervously as he monitors a plummeting stock chart on his screen, thinking, anyway, Daihan Solutions' price is plummeting today. Maybe I should have looked for a stock item in the green instead. Hairin walks over to Jinho's desk and asks, Jinho, how did your mock trading go today? To which Jinho replies nervously, oh, Associate Lee, I did okay, I guess. Hairin boasts proudly with a peace sign. Ahem, my yield today is a whopping 2. I bet I'm the only one on our team who made 2 today. Jinho nervously flatters her. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Hairin smiles eagerly as she leans in closer to his desk, saying, now let's see how my junior did. Looking at Jinho's screen, Hairin freezes in utter shock and demands, wait, what is this? Why did you put everything into a single stock item again? To which Jinho nervously stammers, oh, well? Hairin looks at him with intense frustration and lectures, even if the last time was a mistake, you can't keep doing this. Did you forget that the golden rule of investing is diversified investment? Hairin continues her scolding. If you had used a diversified investment, you wouldn't have taken such a huge loss, while Jinho scratches his head in awkward silence. Jinho worries to himself with a sigh. It's not like I can tell her I bought it because of my ability. Even if she's an angel of a mentor, she can't just let this slide, right? As he mutters, this is frustrating. Leaning in close with an intense glare, Hairin commands, that does it. Stay after work today. Today you're getting a crash course on how to survive in the trading department. I'll buy you dinner so we can talk over food. We're having udon. Hairin looms over Jinho's desk with a fierce expression, demanding, got it? As Jinho sweats in intimidation. Jinho quickly gives 2 thumbs up with a submissive chibi face, responding, yes, while thinking, Associate Lee Hai-rin, I can't believe someone like you is my mentor. Suddenly, a sharp, cold voice cuts in. Associate Lee, Staff Jung, do you think this is funny? Jinho and Hai-rin freeze in absolute terror as a stern pair of legs approaches their cubicle. Yang Mi-ju, an associate manager at Gwangun Securities, stands with her arms crossed and demands with a glare, do you think this office is a playground? Hai-rin quickly bows deeply, pushing Jinho's head down as well as they apologize. We're sorry, Associate Manager Yang. Associate Manager Yang sighs in frustration. I'm already annoyed enough today. Do you really have to get on my nerves? Associate Manager Yang snaps, hurry up and go prepare for the meeting, to which Hai-rin and Jinho desperately shout back, yes ma'am, we'll get right on it. As the associate manager walks away, Hai-rin grumbles, why did she just snap at us out of nowhere? Before advising Jinho, just try to understand her today, Jinho. Hai-rin continues explaining as she watches the manager leave. The market was so volatile today that associate manager Yang took some losses too. Looking over the quiet trading floor, Hai-rin warns him, it's not just her. Most of the department is probably on edge right now. On days like this, you have to watch your step. A close-up of a highly stressed employee hyperventilating and sweating under the pressure of the market's collapse. How about you? Did you get wrecked? Totally destroyed. I tried to hedge a bit with a short position, but it wasn't enough. It's not just us. I bet all the other teams got wiped out too. My throat is dry. But we can't just sit on our hands, can we? Team leader Park Kun-sa. Still, everyone needs to do whatever they can. I'll grab a quick cup of coffee, then let's head straight into the strategy meeting. Yes, team leader. Team leader Park points his thumb up as he suggests doing a quick workout set in his office first because it is great for clearing the mind, but the junior staff sweat and politely decline, running off to get ready for the meeting instead. As team leader Park stands in the kitchen area, team leader Kim Hak-tae approaches him from behind and remarks on how busy he seems, trying to boost team morale during a challenging bear market. Kim Hak-tae, the team leader at Gwangun Securities, smiles smugly and comments on how team leaders always seem to have a lot on their plate. Walking past Park Hong-seo, Kim Hak-tae asks if he isn't sucking up a bit too obviously lately, leaving team leader Park completely baffled as to what he is talking about. Kim Hak-tae smirks as he accuses team leader Park of making his juniors run errands for the seniors, asking if he is really unaware or just playing dumb. Staring intensely at Park Hong-seo, Kim Hak-tae mentions hearing about how he let the CEO's parachute hire take it easy with mock trading, accusing him of playing office politics. Team leader Park calmly sets down his protein tub and explains that he merely had something to confirm, which catches Kim Hak-tae off guard. Park Hong-seo continues opening his container, stating that he wanted to confirm whether the new hire is just a useless parachute or if he actually has what it takes. Kim Hak-tae closes his eyes with a knowing smile and advises team leader Park to ensure that the parachute hire doesn't cause any trouble. With a sharp glare, Kim Hak-tae warns team leader Park that connections won't keep anyone alive in this industry, and if he carelessly hands over company funds only for the hire to mess up, his own neck will be on the line. Glancing at the time, Kim Hak-tae bids farewell and wishes team leader Park good luck as he walks away, leaving Park Hong-seo standing alone in silence. Park Hong-seo stands silently, staring ahead with a stern and highly focused expression on his face. Inside the dark meeting room, team leader Park begins his briefing, telling the tense and worried team members that there is no need to look so grim. Standing before the team leader Park assures everyone that they can make up for today's losses tomorrow and advises them to hedge what they can by switching to a short position. As team leader Park urges the team to take a defensive approach instead of trying to beat the market, his eyes suddenly widen in surprise as he spots something unexpected on his screen. Looking over the room, team leader Park notes that while everyone is suffering in the bear market, Zhang Jinho is the only one who looks completely relaxed and smiles while taking notes. Team leader Park watches Jinho closely, thinking that it's a good thing this is only mock trading because the stock Jinho placed an all-in buy order on is sinking rapidly along with the bear market. In the background, team leader Park looms with an incredibly intense, dark expression, prompting a female employee to whisper about how terrifying he looks today, while her colleague notes that he always looks like that. Team leader Park sighs to himself, admitting that he was too optimistic and read too much into a single fluke, mistakenly thinking Jinho might actually have potential. Park Hong-seo closes his eyes, thinking that the downward trend of the battery sector Jinho invested in won't be reversed unless the sky itself turns upside down, transitioning to Gwangun Securities the next day. Suddenly, team leader Park's eyes shoot open in absolute shock as the news channel on the trading floor broadcasts a breaking announcement showing that the sky has indeed turned upside down. The broadcasting screens flash urgent alerts revealing that Indonesia, the world's largest producer of nickel, has abruptly decided to adjust export quotas to build a domestic battery industry hub. The news anchor explains that the Indonesian government, unhappy with the continuous drop in nickel prices, has suddenly decided to slash their supply of the critical battery raw material by a third. The trading floor erupts into absolute chaos as frantic traders shout to close out their short positions immediately, while the narration explains that battery stocks without nickel reserves are plummeting. On the monitor, a stock chart shows an explosive vertical surge in prices as the market reacts violently to the supply cut. A female researcher runs up to Team Leader Park in a panic, handing him a document and shouting that she has finished researching the nickel reserves of domestic companies as requested. Looking tense, the researcher reports the shocking findings that almost no domestic companies have stockpiles of nickel, and there's only one company in the entire country with a large reserve. Team Leader Park's eyes widen in sheer disbelief as a chilling realization hits him, hoping that it isn't what he thinks. When Team Leader Park whispers the name of the company, the researcher hands him the paper and confirms that Daehan Solution is indeed the only one with large reserves, surprised that he already knew. Clenching his fists as a powerful aura flares up around him, Team Leader Park hears the researcher praise his incredible foresight, reporting that Daehan Solution's stock price is absolutely soaring today. Meanwhile, a flashback shows Jong Jin-ho looking slightly startled as he sits quietly writing in his notebook during the previous strategy meeting. Park Hang-seo realizes that Jin-ho was smiling and looking incredibly relaxed during the meeting because he knew exactly what was coming. Sweating in pure shock, Team Leader Park wonders how on earth a rookie like Jin-ho could have predicted an abrupt announcement from Indonesia that no major institution saw coming. Back at his desk, Jin-ho is quietly typing away when someone suddenly calls out his name in a loud voice. Associate Hyren runs up to Jin-ho's desk with wide eyes and outstretched hands, excitedly sharing the massive news that the Indonesian government is cutting nickel production by 30%. Recalling yesterday's crash course advice to always give a great, enthusiastic reaction to his seniors, Jin-ho acts completely blown away and shouts in exaggerated disbelief. Hyren enthusiastically gestures and explains that the entire battery sector was in a slump yesterday, but the tables have completely turned in just a single day. Jin-ho looks deep in thought as he sweats slightly, suddenly realizing that Daehan Solution, the stock he placed an all-in buy order on yesterday, is also a battery stock that will be heavily affected by the nickel supply cut. Jin-ho asks Associate Hae-rin if most of their team did shorting on battery stocks yesterday, and she calmly explains that they won't take a major hit because the team leader wisely told them to play it safe. Smiling proudly, Hae-rin raises a finger and boasts that team leader Park Hang-seo has absolutely brilliant instincts when it comes to reading the market. On the trading floor, a massive hand slams down violently onto a desk with a loud bang. An incredibly muscular and imposing team leader Park towers over the desk of a sweating and startled department head Lee Tae-ho, demanding a moment of his time to discuss something urgent during trading hours. Team leader Park calmly looks down and announces that he has someone he wants to recommend for promotion to a senior position, prompting the department head to ask who it is. When team leader Park firmly states the name Jong Jin-ho, the scene cuts to the sign outside the CEO's office as someone shouts in utter disbelief. Inside his private office, the bearded and long-haired CEO, Hwang Dae-eun, sits quietly behind his desk, looking deep in thought. The CEO places his smartphone onto his desk after a game session, sighing that playing against a machine is simply no fun and lacks a human touch. Leaning back comfortably in his leather chair with a relaxed smile, CEO Hwang Dae-eun wonders to himself how their rookie Jin-ho is getting along in the trading department. At a restaurant, a hand reaches out and lifts a small, clear shot glass filled with alcohol. Holding her shot glass and raising a finger with her eyes closed, Hae-rin proudly delivers Lesson 1 of surviving in the proprietary trading department. Read the room! Nodding in complete agreement, Jin-ho listens intently as Hae-rin explains that reading the room is absolutely crucial for juniors, especially on stressful days when a bear market has everyone in a terrible mood. Lee Hae-rin warns Jin-ho that some seniors get annoyed when they see a junior getting a better yield than them, concluding that it's best to avoid eye contact with them entirely. Demonstrating her survival tips, Hae-rin slumps in her seat and advises Jin-ho to look like he is going through a family crisis to keep a low profile. Watching her, Jin-ho thinks to himself that Associate Lee Hae-rin is a genuinely good person who is going out of her way to look after him just because he is her junior. Sweat drops on Jin-ho's face as he nervously wonders if she will still treat him the same way if she finds out he was a parachute hire. In the middle of their meal, Jin-ho is startled as Hae-rin suddenly slams her hands down, shouting his name. Hae-rin kindly reassures him that mock trading results are just used to evaluate juniors, but since it's not real money, he shouldn't let it get him down because everyone starts out that way. Raising her glass, Hae-rin enthusiastically offers to teach him a great strategy for pulling in a high yield, and the scene transitions to Gwangwon Securities the next day. Staring at his monitor, Jin-ho sees Daehan Solution up by 15%, realizing with amazement that his predictive ability really does work. Hiren stands behind him, making stammering noises in absolute shock as she looks at his trading screen. Gripping her face in embarrassment, Hiren drops to the floor and cries out, realizing how embarrassing it is to have given him advice over a measly 2% yield when Jinho is actually an overwhelming master. Hiren bows deeply on the floor before him, begging him to teach her his ways and calling him her senior, while a panicked Jinho insists it was just a fluke. Stretching Jinho's cheeks playfully, Hiren refuses to believe it was a fluke, pointing out that no one hits 15% twice in a row by chance and declaring that he is truly amazing. Looking at her warm smile, Jinho realizes that while most people would be jealous of a junior getting better results, Hiren is genuinely happy for him. Smiling as Hiren continues pulling at his cheeks, Jinho thinks about how glad he is to have someone like her as his mentor. A large, powerful hand slams Jinho's mock trading results sheet onto a desk as the narration explains that this is what Jinho achieved in less than a week since joining the company. Department head Lee Tae-ho reads the paper in disbelief, noting that Jinho achieved 15% on Jungang Insurance in just one day and another 15% on Dahan Solution the next day. Sweating in pure shock, Department head Lee Tae-ho wonders if this kind of yield is even possible and asks if Jinho picked these stocks himself. Standing firmly across from him, team leader Park Hong-seo nods silently with a highly focused and serious expression. Slamming his desk, Department head Lee Tae-ho argues that it is impossible to promote a kid who has been here for less than a week to a senior position, worrying that it will put him in a tough spot if rumors spread that the kid is on the CEO's line. Lee Tae-ho continues to protest, pointing out that since it was just mock trading with fake money, Jinho might have just gone all in with zero risk of losing real cash and simply got lucky. Leaning in with an intense gaze, team leader Park Hong-seo asks what would have happened if it had been the company's real money instead. Towering over the department head, team leader Park asks what would have happened if the yield only stopped because of the domestic stock market's 15% price limit, and if it could move like this in the overseas stock market where there are no upper limits. Staring fiercely, team leader Park declares that this isn't about playing politics, reminding him that to traders whose performance incentives make up basically their entire salary, playing politics is completely meaningless. Pointing a clenched fist, team leader Park reminds the department head of his own advice from back when he was a junior, to always invest in safe haven assets, and declares that he is going to invest. Clenching his massive fist with a powerful aura, team leader Park stands tall, declaring his belief that there is a safe reason behind the choice of CEO Hwang Dae-eun, who built the company. Walking out of the elevator, CEO Hwang Dae-eun asks if the battery situation got resolved, and his secretary replies that they executed stop losses where they had to, but several shaken seniors have resigned. CEO Hwang Dae-eun notes that investing is ultimately a mental game, and if they can't handle being shaken like that, it is better that they leave now. Walking down the hallway, the CEO remarks that they should be glad it only ended there, because if this were the US market, they would have been completely wiped out. Stopping outside the president room, CEO Hwang Dae-eun tells everyone to get back to work, noting that he needs to get a lot done today so he can rest tomorrow. Sinking heavily into his armchair with a sigh, the CEO relaxes inside his private office. Loosening his tie, CEO Hwang Dae-eun stretches out, repeating his desire to finish his work today so he can enjoy a peaceful rest tomorrow. The CEO's secretary walks up to him from behind, quietly calling out to get his attention. The secretary reminds the CEO that he had instructed her to keep an eye on staff Jong Jinho and report back if anything happened. She explains that to fill the vacancies left by the departing seniors, the proprietary trading department submitted a request for senior promotions, and staff Jong Jinho is on that promotion list. The CEO looks up in utter surprise, asking, "What?" Rising from his seat, CEO Hwang Dae-eun stands in stunned silence as his secretary watches him nervously. Sweating slightly, the CEO thinks to himself that even if he was the one who hired Jinho, promoting someone who hasn't even been there a week to senior is absurd, wondering if he accidentally ignored the kid after hiring him. Adjusting his suit, the CEO calmly tells his secretary to leave it be and let the promotion go through, claiming that it is all within his calculations. As his secretary opens the door to leave, the CEO stands in silence, contemplating the situation. Walking toward the window, the CEO admits to himself that it was his fault for not giving them a heads up beforehand, which must have confused them when he dropped Jinho in without a word. Smiling, the CEO realizes this might actually be for the best, thinking that the team won't entrust a rookie with much capital anyway, and it won't hurt for Jinho to experience firsthand what investing is really like. Looking out of his high-rise window at the city skyline, CEO Hwang Dae-eun smiles and thinks that Jinho will need some training if he wants to survive here. On a Saturday at 3 p.m., Jinho is seen sitting in a nearly empty subway car holding his briefcase tightly. Exhausted and looking completely drained of life, Jinho sits on the train ride to work with dark bags under his eyes. Stepping into the quiet office, Jin-ho weakly greets associate Hyren with tears streaming down his face. Hyren waves at him with a cheerful smile, admitting that she didn't expect to see him on the weekend. Hyren explains that on Saturdays, they organize and analyze data from the weekday market, looking at which stock items fluctuated and why to find out what related market issues exist. Carrying a stack of documents, Jin-ho learns that they get to leave by 2 p.m. and receive extra pay, but he privately wonders if organizing this data can really help predict how the market will move. Turning to Hyren, Jin-ho asks her if she remembers saying before that the stock market runs completely like a casino. Jin-ho points out that in the domestic market, where logical approaches don't really work, like paint stocks going up when Typhoon Noru hits, he wonders if there is really any point in organizing data and studying the market, leaving Hyren staring at him in silence. Lee Hae-rin agrees with Jin-ho, admitting that no matter how much one studies and analyzes patterns, predicting the market is impossible because global markets are all tangled together by invisible threads. Illustrating the butterfly effect, she explains how a single butterfly flapping its wings on the other side of the world can ultimately crash down on their market as a massive wave. Smiling warmly, Hyren adds that even knowing this, they still prepare to increase their odds by even a tiny bit, because doing so is the absolute best they can do right now. Jin-ho recalls his past frustrations at a gaming PC bang, where he and his friends lamented that an experienced rookie doesn't actually exist and that they were simply born in the wrong era. Gloomily staring at his monitor, Jin-ho remembers complaining about the ruined job market and how there was nothing left to do but play video games. Jin-ho realizes that while he was busy having those pathetic thoughts, associate Lee Hae-rin must have worked incredibly hard to earn her place at the company. Closing his eyes, Jin-ho reflects that chalking everything up to luck and not giving his all is a mistake and highly disrespectful to the people who actually put in the effort to succeed. Looking determined, Jin-ho decides that while he still doesn't know what to do with his stock predicting ability, he will do his absolute best with what he's been given so he won't feel ashamed of himself. Even with his newfound determination, Jin-ho sighs as he walks down the hall, thinking that working on the weekend is still incredibly brutal. Jin-ho opens his front door and announces his return, glad to finally be home after a long day of work. Looking around the quiet entryway of his home, Jin-ho wonders in confusion if there is nobody there. Suddenly, a white cushion flies through the air and slams directly into Jin-ho's face as a voice playfully yells back at his comment. Annoyed, Jin-ho demands to know why she threw a cushion at him instead of just saying she was home, to which she laughs and replies that she did it simply because it's fun. Leaning over the couch with a bright smile, Jin-ho's younger sister greets him warmly, saying it has been a long time and asking how he has been. The scene transitions to a restaurant with pork belly sizzling on a tabletop grill as someone shouts in complete disbelief. Holding Jin-ho's new business card, his sister gapes in utter shock, demanding to know how he managed to land a job at a prestigious firm like Gwangun Securities. His mother laughs, admitting that they could barely believe it themselves and even thought he had made a fake business card to lie to them, prompting a sweat-dropping Jin-ho to mutter that he can hear her. Beaming with pride, Jin-ho's sister enthusiastically congratulates him, telling him she always knew he would make it someday. Laughing, Jin-ho thanks his sister and uses tongs to hand her some freshly grilled meat, telling her to stop buttering him up and just eat. As his sister enjoys the food, Jin-ho's father eats a wrap with tears of joy streaming down his face, expressing how incredibly proud he is that Jin-ho is buying them dinner with his own money. Jin-ho smiles wryly to himself, thinking about how he hadn't even received his first paycheck yet and had to fund this family dinner using the savings he had set aside for in-game purchases. Although his personal savings were taking a major hit, Jin-ho realizes that, for some reason, he doesn't mind at all. Watching his family eat and chat happily, Jin-ho realizes he didn't mind spending his savings one bit, and it only makes him want to work harder so he can treat them to an even better meal next time. The narration transitions back to the office, explaining that every brokerage firm has strict ranks and tiers for its proprietary traders. Hyren explains that lower-ranked traders manage smaller portfolios, but notes that at Gwangun Securities, the absolute minimum amount a single prop trader handles is a whopping 1 billion won. She goes on to say that top performers even sign separate contracts, with some highly profitable traders easily making over 10 billion won a year, causing Jin-ho's eyes to widen in complete disbelief. Jin-ho wonders to himself if an annual salary of 10 billion won is truly possible, finally understanding why elite university graduates like Hae-rin throw themselves into trading. Suddenly, Hae-rin breaks into a panic, frantically handing Jin-ho a stack of documents and telling him to take them and hurry. In a scramble, Jin-ho and Hae-rin pretend to be busy at the copier as the sharp-eyed associate manager Yang Mi-ju walks past them with a highly suspicious and intense glare. As Yang Mi-ju walks away, the two breathe a sigh of relief, with Jin-ho sweating slightly and thinking that someone as sharp as her must also be a top-tier elite. Standing firmly in the middle of the office floor, team leader Park Hong-seo calls out to get everyone's attention, announcing that he has an important statement to make. Team leader Park addresses the recent resignations of several senior traders due to the nickel crisis, bluntly stating that those who cannot survive must leave, but reassures the team that this is actually a massive opportunity to take over those lost funds. Hearing that they will be bringing in new seniors to fill the vacant slots, Yang Mi-ju silently wonders if upper management has already scouted some new experienced hires from outside the company. To their surprise, team leader Park reveals that after discussions with upper management, they decided to promote from within their current ranks of juniors instead of looking outside. A tense silence falls over the room as team leader Park peers over his glasses, preparing to announce the names of those selected for promotion. The scene shows Jin-ho and Hae-rin sitting side by side as team leader Park firmly announces that the two being promoted are staff Jong Jin-ho and associate Lee Hae-rin. Smiling warmly, team leader Park corrects himself by calling them associate Jung Jin-ho and associate manager Lee Hae-rin, offering them both his heartfelt congratulations. Jin-ho and Hae-rin are left completely frozen in shock, while team leader Park calmly tells them to prepare for their desks to be reconfigured before the market opens, before wrapping up his announcement. Gripped by utter disbelief and resentment, Yang Mi-ju trembles in silence at her desk, unable to comprehend the news she just heard. The sound of sharp heels echoes down the hallway as Yang Mi-ju marches off in a furious stride to confront the team leader. Catching up to team leader Park in the hallway, Yang Mi-ju frantically protests, arguing that even with the resignations, promoting a brand new rookie is completely unprecedented. While Park calmly states that the decision was thoroughly finalized with upper management, Mi-ju heatedly objects, saying she can understand Hae-rin's promotion but cannot accept promoting Jin-ho, who has been there for less than a month. Suddenly, team leader Park's cold tone cuts through the air, asking her if she didn't hear him, which causes Mi-ju's eye to widen in fear. Sitting with a dark, commanding aura that fills the room, team leader Park sternly repeats that the matter has already been decided. Completely overwhelmed by his intense and icy pressure, a sweating Mi-ju immediately backs down, clutching her arm and stammering an apology. Despite her submission, Yang Mi-ju's eyes flare with intense rage and frustration behind her glasses as she is forced to swallow her anger. An installer presents Jin-ho with his massive new 6-monitor setup, explaining that they have also configured a hotkey keypad for instant trading and installed a dedicated fiber optic line to prevent any delays. Looking completely overwhelmed by the advanced gear, Jin-ho's sweat drops as the technician notes that proprietary traders must always be a split second faster than everyone else. Scratching his neck in disbelief, Jin-ho stares at the 6 glowing screens, thinking to himself that he has never even used dual monitors for gaming before. When Hae-rin asks if he understood everything, Jin-ho teasingly addresses her by her new title of associate manager and congratulates her with 2 enthusiastic thumbs up, causing her to blush and cover her face in embarrassment. Anyway, I'm getting nervous. To think we're actually jumping into the market, Jin-ho thinks to himself as his hand hovers over his new keyboard. Now we'll be facing real yields and losses with real money, Jin-ho murmurs with a serious expression, but tells himself not to be so scared. I'm sure you'll do great, Jin-ho. Just do exactly what you did during simulated trading. Lee Hae-rin cheers with her fists raised enthusiastically. Jin-ho smiles warmly back at Hae-rin, feeling reassured by her encouragement. Are you seriously laughing right now? You don't even realize what kind of situation we're in, a stern voice suddenly interrupts them. If our team's performance gets ruined because of you two, I won't let it slide, associate manager Yang Mi-ju warns with her arms crossed. Do you know how hard I worked to get my senior promotion, and you two get promoted so easily? I don't accept either of you, Yang Mi-ju snaps in frustration. We'll make sure not to cause any trouble. Hae-rin bows repeatedly while Yang Mi-ju scolds her, prompting their colleagues to whisper about Mi-ju's power-tripping behavior. Jin-ho clenches his fist in frustration, thinking that Hae-rin did her absolute best even with a clueless rookie like him and didn't deserve to be scolded. Associate Manager Yang, I appreciate your concern, but I think you can stop now, Jin-ho says, stepping in front of Hae-rin to defend her. What did you say? Hey, rookie, are you out of your mind? Mi-ju stammers in disbelief as Jin-ho confidently reminds her that team leader Park Hong-seo said yield is the only thing that talks. So don't worry, we will prove ourselves with our results, Jin-ho states boldly, leaving Hae-rin looking at him in complete shock. Unbelievable, you arrogant little punk. Fine, let's see how well you do. Mi-ju points at Jin-ho, warning him that he will soon learn how badly he can get burned. Jin-ho, why did you do that? Hae-rin asks in concern as a furious Mi-ju stomps away. Well, just like a mentor looks after their junior, a junior has to look after their mentor too, Jinho replies with a confident wink. Hairin is left completely stunned and speechless by Jinho's unexpected and reassuring words. Hey, don't try to act cool and brush it off. That was incredibly reckless. Hairin comically hits Jinho on the head to cover her embarrassment. On the desk, the digital alarm clock displays the time as 8:36:20 a.m. Jinho sits at his massive 6-monitor desk, mentally preparing himself as he stares at his operating capital of 1 billion won. There's no turning back now. Now the only way is to prove it with my yield. All right, let's do this, Jinho thinks, placing his hand on his mouse with confidence in his special ability. So annoying, those little rookies. Yang Miju fumes to herself while standing out on the office rooftop terrace. Miju deeply questions why the team leader, who usually prioritizes performance above all else, would make such an unprecedented promotion decision. Hey, Associate Manager Yang Miju, you don't even smoke. What brings you all the way out here? Did something happen? A male coworker calls out as he joins her. If you're here to get on my nerves, get lost, Miju replies coldly, but the coworker smiles and brings up the rumor about Hairin and her rookie's promotions. Besides, isn't it about time Associate Manager Lee got her senior promotion? The coworker asks, to which Miju coldly retorts that Hairin still has a long way to go. And what is up with that clueless rookie Jong Jinho? How can a mere rookie get promoted so incredibly fast? Miju complains, prompting the coworker to ask if she didn't know the secret. Didn't know what? Stop stalling and just tell me, Miju demands, and the coworker reveals he heard a secret from a friend in HR. Apparently, Jong Jinho is related to the CEO. He's a royal family parachute hire, the coworker shares while lighting a cigarette. So basically, it's best not to mess with him, the coworker advises, leaving Miju frozen in absolute shock. A cold sweat breaks out on Miju as she processes this shocking piece of news. The coworker looks at her, noticing her sudden rigid silence. You already messed up, didn't you? The coworker asks as a pale and trembling Miju realizes she has already deeply offended the CEO's relative. From a top-down view, Jinho sits diligently at his trading desk, surrounded by the glow of his 6 monitors. Jinho moves his mouse as he carefully monitors the live stock charts. Suddenly, Jinho gasps in surprise, staring wide-eyed at the monitors. Why aren't I feeling anything? Jinho wonders in panic, realizing his special stock-predicting 6th sense is completely unresponsive. What do I do? I didn't expect this. Jinho thinks, clutching his head in a state of distress. Hairin suddenly approaches him, calling out his name. What's wrong, Associate Manager? Jinho asks, only to see Hairin comically crying, explaining that she already lost $3 and got suspended from trading for the day. They suspend you for losing just $3? Jinho asks, and Hairin explains that risk managers block rookies after a $3 loss before asking Jinho how he is doing. Are you getting those insane yields like you did in simulated trading? Hairin asks with a hopeful smile. Huh? What is this? Hairin gasps as she looks at Jinho's screen. You haven't made a single trade yet? Hairin asks in disbelief, while Jinho sweat drops and admits that he hasn't. Well, how should I put it? Jinho stammers, scratching his head awkwardly. I'm just not feeling anything, Jinho says, pointing to his mouse. Jinho looks at his hand, reflecting that although he had high hopes, his supernatural ability hasn't triggered no matter how much he scrolls. Jinho deeply wonders if there is a specific condition required to trigger his stock-predicting 6th sense. A 6th sense is important, Hairin smiles warmly, understanding his struggle. In that case, why not check the briefing materials we went over today? They say a 6th sense is just your subconscious reacting to stored data, Hairin advises, tapping her temple. What are you doing? Take it, Hairin says, handing over a lever-bound folder of market analysis data to a surprised Jinho. Lee Hairin cheerfully flashes a thumbs up to Jinho, announcing that she is going to beg the risk management team to lift her trading suspension and wishing him good luck for the rest of the day. Clutching the leather folder, Jinho happily thinks to himself that Hairin is the best, before realizing he has market analysis data compiled by the elites in the research department. Jinho flips open the market analysis folder, reading about the various market factors that influence one another, reflecting that he was always too busy delivering these reports to his seniors to actually read them. Staring at the complex financial terms like EFFR and SOFR, Jinho sits at his desk looking completely bewildered, admitting to himself that he has absolutely no idea what any of it means. Turning to a different page, Jinho smiles as he finds a section that Hairin had previously explained to him, making it easy for him to understand. A dramatic close-up shows Jinho's eye widening in realization as a spark of inspiration flashes across his mind. Jinho turns in his chair to look down at his computer desk, wondering if he has finally figured out the key. A sweat drop runs down Jinho's cheek as a confident smile spreads across his face, realizing he has finally grasped the solution. Glowing with a bright blue energy, Jinho firmly places his hand back on his mouse as he discovers the exact trigger condition for his stock-predicting sixth sense. Jinho unbuttons the top button of his dress shirt, preparing himself to dive back into the stock market. A close-up shows Associate Manager Yang Mi-ju untying her hair and letting it flow down her shoulders. Jinho looks on in surprise as a coworker stares in shock at Yang Mi-ju suddenly letting her hair down in the middle of the office. Looking highly confident and alluring, Yang Mi-ju walks through the office with her hair down, prompting her surprised colleagues to wonder what she is up to now. Walking up to Jinho's desk, Mi-ju calls out his name in a sweet tone, catching Jinho off guard as he monitors his screens. Jinho turns to look at her, sweat dropping with a completely bewildered expression on his face. Leaning closely over his desk with a sparkling and exceptionally warm smile, Mi-ju asks Jinho how his first day of trading is going. Backing away in sheer confusion, Jinho asks her what is behind this sudden and dramatic change in her attitude, while Mi-ju cutely claims she simply felt bad. Smiling softly, Mi-ju apologizes for being so harsh earlier, explaining that she lost her cool because she was so stressed about her performance in the market. Giving Jinho a sparkling, sweet look, Mi-ju asks him if he will forgive her. As Jinho awkwardly agrees, a delighted Mi-ju clasps her hands together and says she knew he would understand, claiming she liked him from the very start. Leaning in to check Jinho's screens, Mi-ju eagerly asks to see his results, assuming he must have lost a lot of money since the market is such a mess. Looking at him with a smug, hidden smile, Mi-ju tells herself that this is her perfect chance to play the role of a supportive senior who embraces him despite his negative yield. Suddenly, Mi-ju's sweet expression completely freezes as she glares at the screen in absolute disbelief. Quickly putting her glasses back on, Mi-ju stares intently at Jinho's monitors, questioning if she is seeing things correctly. A dramatic shot of the screen displays a staggering 10% yield, leaving Mi-ju screaming in her mind, demanding to know what is going on. Gripped by shock, Mi-ju leans over Jinho's desk and yells in disbelief at his incredible 10 yield. Stunned to her core, Mi-ju's high heels slip, causing her to lose her balance as she stammers in disbelief. With a loud crash, Mi-ju falls flat on her back onto the office floor in front of Jinho, who reaches out in alarm. Sitting on the floor in complete shock, Mi-ju desperately tries to comprehend how he managed to hit a 10 yield in a bear market using regular stocks instead of shorting or put options. With her eyes wide behind her glasses, Mi-ju realizes Jinho made 100 million won in a single day, deeply questioning his identity while Jinho awkwardly asks if she is okay. From outside the glass office doors, a coworker watches in amusement as Jinho stands over a completely dazed Mi-ju sitting on the floor. At his desk, team leader Park Hong-seo looks at the computer screen displaying Jinho's 10 estimated yield, a knowing smile playing on his lips. Staring out from his desk, team leader Park wonders if he is witnessing the birth of a legend that Gwanggun Securities will never see again. A close-up of team leader Park's eye behind his glowing glasses shows him contemplating his role in Jinho's career. Pressing the enter key with a satisfied smile, team leader Park decides that his job as an ordinary person is simply to set the stage for these superhumans. Next morning, Jinho walks into the office building holding his briefcase, reflecting on his major breakthrough and realizing his ability doesn't trigger randomly. Walking with a determined look, Jinho understands that the range of his power depends on the data he possesses, motivating him to study even harder. A close-up of Jinho's polished shoes as he walks confidently down the office hallway. As soon as Jinho arrives, his coworkers enthusiastically greet him, congratulating him on having the highest yield in the company yesterday and calling themselves lucky to have him. Jinho walks into his team's office area, immediately noticing a strange and overly welcoming atmosphere. Jinho places his briefcase on his desk, feeling a bit tense about all the sudden attention. Jinho looks sideways with a nervous sweat drop, feeling his colleagues' eyes locked onto him. A group of smiling, cheering coworkers suddenly crowd closely around Jinho to show their appreciation. Looking completely overwhelmed by his colleagues' intense praise, Jinho sweats profusely and wonders why everyone is being so overwhelming. Another coworker steps in to push the crowd back, telling them to back off and give Jinho some personal space. The coworker explains that everyone is simply grateful to Jinho because his incredible trade boosted the team's overall performance during yesterday's brutal bear market. Suddenly, Yang Mi-ju walks into the room with her hair down and a sparkling aura, cheerfully wishing Jinho a good morning. Watching Miju sashay past, the other coworkers whisper among themselves about how she is really going all out and never changes. Standing before Jinho with a warm smile, Miju recalls how she thought he was just being arrogant, but admires how he completely proved himself with his actual results. Leaning in with a captivating smile, Miju thinks to herself that a man who keeps his word is incredibly charming. Young Miju leans in close to Jinho, pulling gently on his tie with a suggestive look, and asks, "Jinho, if you have some kind of secret, could you maybe share a little bit with me?" Suddenly, team leader Park Hong-seo stands behind them with his arms crossed, glaring down sternly. "What are you doing?" he demands, adding, "Is this a playground to you? Back to work." With the team leader's sudden appearance, all the co-workers, including Miju, scramble back to their desks in a panic, leaving Jinho sitting in his chair as Park Hong-seo watches over the office. As Jinho sits at his desk, team leader Park calls out his name, startling him. "Jong Jinho," he says, causing Jinho to jump in shock and reply, "Yes, team leader?" Looking down with a serious and stern expression behind his glasses, team leader Park commands, "Check your trading program." Jinho turns back to his computer monitor in suspense and gasps, questioning, "This is..." The computer screen displays an incredibly large balance as the team leader explains that it is 4 billion won in additional capital that he has personally allocated to Jinho. Jinho looks completely shocked, sweat running down his face as he stammers to himself, "4 billion?" While the team leader admits, "I don't know how you did it, but actually, I don't care about your methods." With a confident smirk, team leader Park declares, "In this place, making money is all that matters. Let's see what you can do today." Jinho stands up, looking completely stunned, and thinks to himself, 4 billion won more? But I haven't even been here for a month yet? As he faces his supervisor. Team leader Park looks Jinho in the eye and asks, "You know our company motto, right?" Before reminding him of their core value, making money is everything. Standing in profile, team leader Park clearly states, "I don't care where you came from or what school you went to. Your background doesn't matter to me, as long as your yield is good." Looking at Jinho's empty monitors, team leader Park tells him, "The market opens soon. Get ready." Jinho quickly responds, "Ah, yes sir, I'll get ready." As team leader Park walks away, he thinks to himself that Jinho is bound to face a lot of pushback from others for being a parachute hire, and resolves to clear the first path for him. Looking highly confident and powerful, team leader Park thinks that in return, Jinho must show him exactly how far he can go. Associate manager Lee Hai-rin looks at Jinho with her mouth agape and her eyes wide in complete astonishment, uttering, "Oh." Hai-rin enthusiastically says, "A 10 yield after only 3 trades? You really are a stock genius." Before adding, "You have nerves of steel, Jinho, only trading 3 times all day?" Leaving Jinho to awkwardly wonder, "Huh? Nerves of steel?" Hai-rin gestures with her hands as she explains, "You know, most people use day trading to time their entries and take small bites, but you can wait without panicking, even when the stock chart is fluctuating. That takes guts." Jinho scratches his head, thinking to himself that day trading actually seems to take more guts, before asking, "How many times did you trade yesterday, Associate Manager Lee?" Lee Hai-rin sighs with exhausted, trembling fingers, complaining, "I must have made 150 trades yesterday. My fingers and eyes were so sore." Jinho sweats and thinks in disbelief, 150 times? Is that normal? Suddenly glancing at the digital clock on the wall, Hai-rin gasps, realizing that the market is about to open and decides she must hurry back. Hai-rin quickly runs off down the hallway, cheering back at Jinho. "Good luck today, you can do it." Looking relaxed and content, Jinho smiles as he reflects that talking to Associate Manager Lee really helped him calm down after being so incredibly nervous when team leader Park Hong-seo suddenly showed up. Jinho rolls up his sleeves, stretches his arms, and tells himself, "Well then," as he prepares to dive into the market. A close-up shows Jinho placing his hand firmly back onto his mouse, ready to trade. Looking highly focused, Jinho sits up straight at his desk and wonders, "What should I do today?" Staring at the screen, Jinho notes that his operating capital is now 5 billion won and reassures himself that since he has confirmed exactly how his special sixth sense works, he has absolutely nothing to fear. Suddenly, a bright blue energy sparks around his hand as his intuition triggers for KK Bank. Jinho recognizes it as the internet bank from their briefing materials, which only handles online transactions and has no physical branches. Knowing his sixth sense is active, Jinho doesn't hesitate and firmly clicks his mouse, executing a massive buy order. Jinho sighs in relief, closing his eyes, and thinks that he has successfully completed the first trade, planning to study the market until the next feeling triggers. Suddenly, Jinho's eye snaps open in complete surprise as he gasps, Huh? Glowing with intense blue energy, Jinho stands over his desk in shock, realizing he is getting the trigger feeling for the exact same stock again. He sweats in panic, wondering if his power is telling him to sell everything immediately right after he just went all in. Jinho instantly clicks his mouse, executing a massive sell order to lock in his position. Almost immediately, the blue energy surges again. Stunned, Jinho executes another buy order, only for his power to instantly trigger again, forcing him to immediately execute a sell order. Jinho enters a complete trading frenzy, clicking his mouse at lightning speed as buy and sell orders execute one after another, leaving him completely overwhelmed as the supernatural feeling refuses to stop. Sweating profusely and gritting his teeth in sheer desperation, Jinho realizes in panic that he doesn't even know when to stop trading. In a different office, a sleek desk displays a clear nameplate for Senior Managing Director Jin Yohan alongside a black smartphone with a cartoon witch sticker lying on top. Seen from above, Senior Managing Director Jin Yohan sits at his desk looking at his blank monitor, sighing, "Ah." Stretching his arms and yawning widely, Johan complains, "I really don't want to go to this meeting. I want to finish up and go home to play games." Johan rests his chin on his hand, wondering how Jinho is doing on his first real day, reflecting that since rookies are usually only given 1 billion won, Jinho would normally have been suspended after hitting a 5% loss. Johan closes his eyes with a relaxed smile, thinking that 50 million won is just about what he spends on in-game purchases anyway, and considers it a perfectly reasonable price for Jinho's life lesson. Looking at his monitors with a warm smile, Johan thinks to himself that he can easily afford that much for Jinho, while in the background, a dazed Jinho is seen frantically clicking away at his trading desk. Suddenly, a close-up shows Jinho's hand on his mouse as a single drop of blood drips onto his finger. Jinho gasps in shock and covers his mouth and nose with his hand as a sudden nosebleed splatters out. Jinho rolls his chair backward, holding his forehead in a daze as he deals with the sudden physical toll of his intense trading session. A hand quickly reaches over to grab a tissue from the box on Jinho's desk. Wiping his nose with the tissue, Jinho sweats in exhaustion, relieved to find that his sudden nosebleed has finally stopped. Wobbly on his feet, Jinho clutches the back of his chair and sighs, admitting to himself that he has reached his absolute physical limit because he is so tired and his eyes hurt. Jinho slumps heavily onto the blue office sofa, thinking to himself that he just needs to rest for a second, wondering what his final yield for the day actually is. With his eyes slowly sliding shut, Jinho drifts off to sleep, telling himself that he will simply check his yield later. Realizing that a brief period of sleep is the most efficient way to restore his depleted energy reserves, Jinho decides to close his eyes and recover for a bit. The leather office chair stands vacant, rolling backwards silently as the immediate focus shifts to the hard data and output left on the trading terminal. Looking at his computer screen with wide eyes, the CEO gasps in absolute shock, unable to comprehend the massive spike in the account's total valuation. The screen clearly indicates that Jong Jinho's account holds an astonishing 6 billion won, prompting the CEO to wonder how such an immense amount of wealth was generated so rapidly. Staring closely at the trading screen, the CEO is stunned by Jinho's flawless execution records, which represent an incredibly high level of market efficiency. He analyzes the high-performing statistics, a 10% yield on Jinho's initial 1 billion won of capital, followed by a phenomenal 20% yield on 5 billion won the very next day. Standing over his desk, the CEO is left speechless by the sheer productivity of Jinho, making an unprecedented 1 billion won in profit in just 48 hours. Placing a hand on the receiver, the CEO double-checks with the technical team to ensure that this massive gain is a legitimate result rather than a systemic glitch. Having confirmed that the data is completely accurate, he marvels at the sheer impossibility of achieving a consistent 20% yield with 5 billion won via day trading. He realizes that Jinho's flawless track record of over 100 profitable trades without a single loss is statistically impossible by luck alone, proving Jinho possessed perfect predictive utility. Recognizing the massive organizational impact of Jinho's abilities, the CEO immediately calls out for Secretary Jang to assist him. To maximize the strategic advantage for the company, the CEO commands Secretary Jang to immediately summon all managers responsible for supervising Jinho to his office. Meanwhile, Jinho drifts into deep sleep, completely exhausted from the heavy physiological toll of running highly intensive cognitive operations. Suddenly, Jinho snaps awake with drool on his chin as Associate Manager Lee Hai-rin calls out his name to bring him back to reality. Associate Manager Lee Hai-rin stands over him inside the quiet room, looking down at him with a gentle and supportive expression. Jinho leaps up from the sofa in surprise, frantically questioning why Associate Manager Lee is visiting the designated men's lounge. Hai-rin explains that she noticed his empty desk and wanted to check on his physical condition to ensure his well-being was not compromised. Concerned by his nosebleed, she asks if he is falling ill, but Jinho quickly wipes his face and reassures her that it is simply temporary fatigue from his intense efforts. Jinho attempts to stand and return to his workstation to generate more output, only to be surprised when Hiren informs him that the trading day ended at 4 p.m. Jinho is struck by panic, realizing he slept through productive working hours despite his strong commitment to maximizing his contributions. He apologizes profusely, but Hiren kindly pats his head and reminds him that his unmatched contributions have made him a vital benefactor to the entire team's welfare. Walking back into the main office, Jinho notices a strange tension in the air and asks why the general workplace atmosphere feels so heavily disrupted. Hiren explains that the top tier of management has been called to a sudden meeting, prompting Jinho to ask who initiated such an urgent assembly. High-level executives and managers nervously walk down the hallway, fully aware that they have been summoned by none other than CEO Hwang Dae-luk. The executives whisper among themselves in the corridor, trying to calculate the purpose of this sudden meeting and how it will affect their operations. Walking with tense, worried expressions, the management team prepares themselves to face the head of the company. Sitting comfortably in his office, CEO Hwang Dae-luk greets the incoming group with a wave of his hand, inviting them to sit and discuss the situation. Once everyone is seated, the CEO prepares to ask a crucial question regarding the allocation of corporate assets. With an intense, commanding gaze, CEO Hwang demands to know who authorized the massive 4 billion won increase in Jinho's trading capital. In the break room, team members gossip about the monthly performance metrics, noting that prop trading Team 1 has achieved the highest collective output. They speculate that Jinho is merely a favored parachute hire, unaware of the immense quantitative value his skills have actually brought to the firm. They cynically complain that the distribution of performance ratings is being monopolized, failing to understand that rewarding peak efficiency benefits the entire organization. They question how a rookie who has been at the company for only a single month could possibly be their most valuable asset. Listening to their complaints, the female colleague with glasses smiles confidently, knowing their skepticism is born of sheer ignorance of Jinho's real-world results. She happily defends Jinho, highlighting how his astonishing 15% single-day yield makes him an incredibly valuable asset to the company's overall prosperity. Walking through the office, she looks around and wonders why Jinho is absent, questioning if he is finally taking the weekend off to rest. Under the bright morning sun, Jinho's quiet apartment building stands tall, representing a peaceful sanctuary away from the high-stress trading floor. Jinho lies flat on his comfortable bed, maximizing his physical recovery by fully relaxing his body and mind. Smiling contentedly, he reflects on how wonderful it feels to finally enjoy a peaceful Saturday of complete rest. He contemplates how his first month on the job was an intense blur of high-volume transactions, requiring rapid cognitive execution. He recalls the endless, grueling cycle of drinking energy beverages to sustain his stamina while executing buy and sell orders at lightning speed. Relaxing on his pillow, Jinho analyzes his supernatural ability, identifying two major functional rules that govern its operation. He notes that while his predictive range expands with better market data, repeated activation in quick succession imposes an extremely heavy physical toll. Although he initially felt obligated to work through the weekend, Associate Manager Lee Hae-rin strictly ordered him to stay home and rest to preserve his future productivity. His colleagues had enthusiastically pushed him out of the office, explaining that a well-rested Jinho is crucial for maximizing team bonuses and overall profit during the week. Sitting on his bed, Jinho wonders if it is truly acceptable to skip weekend duties, though he appreciates how the married staff members insisted on prioritizing his recovery. Suddenly, Jinho's smartphone screen lights up on the mattress, signaling an incoming deposit notification. Curious to see the exact return on his labor, Jinho picks up his phone to check his very first paycheck. His eyes widen in absolute disbelief as he processes the staggering numbers displayed on his screen. Jinho gasps in shock, realizing his initial compensation package totals an astronomical 700 million won, a spectacular reward for his unmatched market efficiency. Realizing the sheer scale of his first payout, Jinho gasps in absolute shock, thinking to himself that 700 million won is as much as the annual revenue of a small retail shop. Suddenly, Jinho's phone on the bed starts vibrating loudly, causing him to recoil backward in surprise. Picking up the call, Jinho answers nervously, while on the other end, his caller laughs heartily and asks if Jinho has checked his paycheck yet. Flustered, Jinho asks if there was some kind of system error with his massive salary, but the laughing CEO jokingly tells him that it is exactly the right amount. Sitting comfortably on his sofa at home, the CEO explains that this is Jinho's incentive, which amounts to 20% of the massive profits he generated the previous month, along with an extra bonus. He adds that this is simply the nature of being a trader. When you win big, but when you go bust, you get peanuts. Kneeling on his bed, Jinho sweats in amazement, admitting he has never handled this much wealth before, while the CEO's animated icon warns him not to spend it all at once because he needs to save enough to pay his global income tax. The CEO then casually asks Jinho if he wants to grab a meal, noting that it has been a while since they caught up. Later at a restaurant, the CEO happily downs a shot of soju in one gulp. Exclaiming in satisfaction, the CEO enjoys the meal, while Jinho cooks the meat and asks if their guildmate Youngchul has quit their online game. The CEO notes that it would be a shame if he quit in frustration since Youngchul is one of the few reliable support players on the server. Jinho reflects that the laughing man sitting across from him is both CEO Hong Dae-luk, the head of his securities firm, and the guildmaster he plays games with online. He remembers how the CEO used to call him out for pork belly and soju after every major guild raid, thinking that looking at him now, he seems like a typical middle-aged guy who simply loves gaming, and that no one would ever suspect he runs a major company. However, Jinho's eyes widen slightly as he realizes that the person meeting with him today has shifted from his gaming guildmaster to his corporate boss, who asks Jinho if he knows something important. Holding his glass, the CEO seriously explains that in all his years of running the firm, he has never once hired an unproven candidate. Jinho is taken aback, but the CEO quickly laughs and tells him not to be so tense, reassuring him that he isn't trying to pressure him. Pointing his shot glass at Jinho with a warm smile, the CEO explains that Jinho is the one who finally broke his streak of never hiring unproven rookies. Jinho scratches his neck and modestly suggests that anyone could have done what he did, but the CEO emphasizes that not only did Jinho manage the gaming guild perfectly, but he was always highly respectful to the older members, though that alone wasn't enough of a reason to hire him. Taking another sip, the CEO reveals that the real reason he broke his own strict hiring rules to bring Jinho into the company was the incredible energy Jinho displayed at every critical moment, admitting that he is someone who strongly believes in the power of luck. Jinho recalls their intense gaming days, where to some, the glowing golden swords and items were just digital pixels, but to them, those moments were tense, real, and incredibly important. Looking sharp, the CEO points out that what Jinho has shown during his time at the company, however, is something that goes far beyond simple luck. With a piercing look, the CEO directly asks Jinho to tell him if he has his own unique investment method. Sweating nervously, Jinho answers that he does, while frantically wondering how on earth he should explain his predictive abilities if the CEO asks for details. A close-up shows a knowing, confident smile spreading across the CEO's face. Downing his drink, the CEO says that knowing Jinho has a method is all he needed to hear, prompting Jinho to ask if he isn't going to inquire about the details, to which the CEO replies that simply knowing a method exists is enough. Putting his cup down, the CEO chuckles, saying it is probably some complex mathematical algorithm that he wouldn't be able to understand anyway. With an intense and encouraging smile, the CEO proposes setting up a brand new team for Jinho and asks how he would like to be its team leader. Jinho is left speechless, stuttering in utter disbelief at the sudden promotion. In a flashback to the high-level meeting, the CEO, dressed in a sleek suit, demands to know who approved the massive 4 billion won increase in Jinho's trading capital. Standing before the CEO, the intense, gray-haired team leader Park Hong-seo is singled out. Shaking in terror, Park Hong-seo bows deeply as the other executives frantically yell at him for his reckless decision, demanding he apologize and beg for forgiveness, while the CEO coldly asks for his reasoning. Keeping his composure under pressure, Park Hong-seo explains that at first, he didn't understand why the CEO would hire an inexperienced rookie like Jung Jinho either. He continues, pointing out that Jinho clearly proved his incredible potential during the mock investment tournament. Looking determined, Park Hong-seo states that he saw Jinho's immense investment appeal and decided to take a bold chance on him, just like any other passionate trader would have done. When the CEO tells him to go ahead, team leader Park asks if he may say one more thing. Clasping his hands tightly, Park Hong-seo suggests that instead of keeping Jinho under his own wing, they should look at the bigger picture. With a confident smile, team leader Park suggests taking this opportunity to give Jinho his very own trading team. Back at the restaurant, Jinho is stunned to learn that team leader Park made that suggestion, and the CEO chuckles, agreeing that he has never seen Park push so strongly for anyone before. Jinho points to himself in panic, questioning how he could possibly lead a team when he has only been at the company for a single month, while the CEO points out that Park would have earned a massive performance bonus just by keeping Jinho under his command. Jinho waves his hands frantically, protesting that he completely lacks the experience or confidence to lead, but the CEO is amused that Jinho is turning down an offer directly from the head of the company. Raising a finger with a sly smile, the CEO proposes an alternative compromise as Jinho watches nervously. Later on, Jinho stands in a brightly lit shopping center with his parents, asking if they are ready. The steady click of high heels signals someone approaching them. Jinho's younger sister, Miho, spins around happily in a gorgeous pink dress, asking how she looks and if the outfit suits her. Their father proudly exclaims that their daughter looks like a celebrity, while Miho excitedly notes that she needed a nice dress for a friend's upcoming wedding anyway. Jinho happily encourages his parents not to just stand there and to pick out whatever they like, causing his mother to ask if it's really okay, while his father coughs to hide his excitement. At the counter, Jinho hands over his sleek black card, confidently telling the cashier that he will pay for everything in a single one-time payment when asked about an installment plan. The cashier inserts the premium card into the terminal to process the transaction. Jinho recalls the CEO's parting words, advising him not to go straight home but to call his family and spend some money, promising that it would change his perspective. Sweating with a warm smile, Jinho realizes the CEO wanted him to experience the true reward of his hard work, thinking to himself that his boss is truly remarkable. Walking through the mall, Jinho tosses a shopping bag to his sister, telling her to catch. Miho gasps in delight upon seeing a brand new MacBook laptop inside, as Jinho smiles and reminds her that she had complained about her old laptop being too slow. Clutching her shopping bag tightly, Jinho's younger sister Miho looks at him with emotional, teary eyes, amazed at how much her gamer brother has changed and admitting that his sudden generosity is almost scary. Jinho waves his hand dismissively and tells Miho to stop overreacting and pick out whatever else she needs, prompting her to happily hug her brand new laptop bag and thank him with a bright smile. Jinho reflects on how his sister had been using his old, worn-out laptop for years and how his parents had quietly worn the same clothes for years without ever complaining. Standing in the busy shopping mall as his family happily carries their new purchases, Jinho feels deep warmth and realization, thinking that his family's frozen time is finally starting to move again because of him. Jinho looks down at his hand, wondering how to describe the profound emotions swelling inside him, feeling as though an incredible energy is overflowing from within. Clenching his hand into a tight, determined fist, Jinho feels a deep sense of accomplishment and satisfaction that he could never have gotten from simply playing games. A smartphone sits on a desk, vibrating energetically as an incoming call from Jinho lights up the screen. Sitting in his office, CEO Hwang Dae-luk looks down at his vibrating phone with a calm and knowing smile. Answering the call, the CEO places the phone to his ear and greets him warmly, saying, "Oh, Jinho." Standing confidently in the shopping center with his phone to his ear, Jinho smiles and decisively tells his boss that he will accept the offer to become the team leader.